Hello everyone, this is teacher Suzie and welcome to my class. So sa video na ito, we are going to discuss how to solve equations that are transformable to quadratic equations. So may mga equations tayo na sa unang tingin natin don't look like quadratic equations pero pwede silang ma-transform into quadratic equations. So kinuha ko yung lesson ng na nasa module na ginagamit sa Valenzuela ng mga grade 9 students in week number 3, pages 3 and 4. So, I made this video so that my students will be able to understand yung mga examples na nasa learning modules while nag-aaral sila on their own sa kanilang mga tahanan. So, here on the screen, we have a problem, an example of word problem na nandoon sa module na iyon, in which itong problem na ito ipapakita natin na ang equation, from the equation na mabubuo natin, will be able to transform the equation into quadratic. Okay, so let's start. So it says in here that Erica decided to increase the area of her rectangular garden by 28 meters squared. So merong garden si Erica, and the shape of the garden, so gamit tayo ng red color to highlight the important details, is rectangular. So in rectangular shape yung garden ni Erica. So if we're going to draw a rectangle, let's say ito siya. Okay, suppose that this is Erica's garden. And ang sabi, gusto niya raw itong dagdagan pa ng another 28 meters. Okay, dadagdagan niya ng 28 meters squared yung original garden para makapagtanim pa siya ng additional na mga crops. Okay, sa gitna ng pandemic. So, amid pandemic. The original length and width of the garden is, so ito yung kanyang original dimension. 28 meters by 8 meters. Okay? So, using the formula for the area of a rectangle, hindi ba't ang formula is length times width. So, if we're going to substitute these values, 4 meters by 8 meters, ito yung original garden ni Erica. So, that will be 4 or 8 times 4, which is equal to 32. And the unit is meter, since this is area, meters squared. So, ibig sabihin, originally, yung garden ni Erica ay 32 meters squared ang area niya sa given na length and width na 8 meters and 4 meters. So, from 32 meters squared, gusto niya itong dagdagan ng 28 meters squared. Okay po? So, from the area 32, dadagdagan siya ng 28 meter squared. So, pag inad natin yan, ang kabuuan, ang magiging kabuuan, ang masasakop na ng kanyang garden ay 60 meters squared. So, from 32 meters squared, magiging 60 meter squared since gusto niyang dagdagan ng 28 meters squared. Okay po? So, she would like to increase the length and width by the same amount. So, gusto niya, and of course, kapag lumaki yung area, ibig sabihin, maidadagdag sa length and sa width. So, from 8 and 4, na dimensions niya, gusto niya itong dagdagan ng same amount. So, hindi natin alam kung ilan yon na maidadagdag parehas sa length at saka sa width because it's the same amount. So, ang gagawin natin, we will represent, okay? We will represent x. Okay? We will let x be the length added to the dimensions. Ito yung idadagdag natin sa length and width. So, this will be the added length to the dimensions. sa length at saka sa width. Ito ang idadagdag natin. So, if let's say ang naunang length natin ay 8, magdadagdag ng x. So, whatever is the value of x, yun yung idadagdag natin from 8 at ganun din sa 4. So, going back here, so kung ito yung garden ni Erica, if ito ang width, it measures 4 meters. And this is the length, yung mas mahabang part, that is 8 meters. And gusto niya magdagdag, gusto niyang dagdagan. So, dagdagan natin. Assume natin na pareho ng dinagdag yung length tsaka sa width dito sa ating drawing. So, hindi natin alam. Sabi natin, represent natin with x. Yung idadagdag na yon. So, itong dagdag na to, ito yung dagdag eh. Yan yung additional, di ba? 8, ito, hanggang dito lang yung 8. Itong dagdag na to, let's represent that with x. Hindi natin alam kung ano pa yan. And then, if this is the width, ito yung width. Okay? The same, kung kukunin natin tong portion na ito, which is represented by x, that is also the same dito sa idadagdag. So, ayan siya. So, that is also x. Alright? So, if we're going to create an equation or expression for this, so yung dating 8 meters, dinagdagan natin ng x. So, we do not know what that x is. So, ibig sabihin, the width or the length, because yun yung mas mahaba. So, length will be 8, yung luma, plus x. Yung x yung idadagdag natin na length. And then, the width, the shorter one, is 4 plus x. So, the same amount yung x na yan. Whatever is, pareho yan na idadagdag natin sa lumang length at sa lumang width. Okay? So, ngayon, ito na yung bago natin. Ito na yung length and width ng kanyang garden na inextend or nilakihan. So, if we're going to make an equation from this, again, we have discussed a while ago that the formula for length for the area rather of a rectangle is length times width. So if we're gonna substitute these expressions or these measurements sa formula, so that will become the length, which is 8 plus x, times the width, which is 4 plus x. And the answer will be, so again, yung bagong length times the bagong width. Okay? That is equal now to 60 meters squared. Nauna na nating sinolve. So, 60. Alright? So, again, from 32 meters squared, yung area ng lumang garden, pag dinagdagan ng 28 meters squared na gustong idagdag ni Erica, that will become 60 meters squared, which will be the new area. So, the new length times the new width is equal to the new area, which is 60. So, from this equation, if you'll notice, wala tayong nakikitang power of 2. So, you might think that this is not a quadratic equation. But actually, this equation can be transformed to quadratic equation. So, ano lang ang i-apply natin? So, here, we will just apply FOIL method. Pwede rin nating ma-apply yung special product or the distributive property or any properties of equality. So, in the guided questions na nasa module, so what equation illustrates the given situation above? So, quadratic equation, this is an equation that can be transformed or transformable to quadratic equation. And then, sa guided question number 2, what are the concepts you applied? So, yun yung nabanggit kanina, special product, FOIL method, distributive property. Okay? So, we will make this equation a quadratic equation for us to answer the question number 3. So, what are the dimensions of the garden? So, ito yan. What are the dimensions of the garden? So, we will apply FOIL method or distributive property. Let's just distribute first the first term ng ating first binomial. So, distribute natin si 8. 8 times 4, that is 32. 8 times x is 8x. Next, ang x naman ang i-distribute natin. X times 4 is 4x. And x times x is x squared. And then we will copy equals 60. And then combine like terms. 8x and 4x are similar terms. So we will just copy 32. Or if you'd like, pwede na rin natin ilipat sa 60 on the other side of the equal sign para ma-combine natin kay 32. So we're gonna have 32, or adjust natin konti para magpantay yung equal signs. So that will become 32. So 60 will become negative, so minus 60. Okay, and then 8x plus 4x combine natin, that's equal to 12x. Then we will just copy x squared and then equals, wala na natira dito sa side na ito. So we're gonna write 0. Combine 32 and negative 60. 32 minus 60, that is negative 28. And then let's copy everything. Plus 12x plus x squared equals 0. So if you notice, this is now a quadratic equation because the degree is 2. So let's write this in standard form muna, in ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So that will become, so una natin muna isusulat ang x squared. So x squared followed by the bx, which is 12x. So plus 12x. And then the constant, which is negative 28. And then equals 0. So none of the terms change their signs. Kasi hindi naman sila lumipat sa kabilang side ng equal sign. Now, since our quadratic equation is already written in standard form, let us now decide what method to be used to solve for x. So, na-discuss noong mga nakaraang weeks na meron tayong 4 different methods to solve quadratic equation. And any of those pwede natin gamitin. But we cannot use extracting the square root because yung b natin ay not equal to 0. So, pipili na lang tayo among factoring, completing the square, and the quadratic formula. And since yung nasa module is factoring, so let's use factoring. So, again, in factoring, so we will prepare 2 parentheses and then the equal 0. So, we will factor x squared. Factors are x and x. Susulat natin dito. And then, we will factor negative 28. Kung saan, pag inad natin yung factors niya, the sum will be 12. And kung iisipin natin, what are those? Those are 14 and negative 2. Because 14 times negative 2, that is negative 28. Pag inad natin, 14 plus negative 2, that is equal to 12. Okay? So, we're going to write this factor sa loob ng parentheses. So, positive 14, we're gonna have plus 14. And then negative 2, so this is minus 2. And then solve for x. Or let's apply zero product property muna. So, itong factors natin, let's make them equal to 0. So, this will become x plus 14 equals 0. And the other one, x minus 2 equals 0. So, for x, dito tayo muna. So, this will become x equals negative 14. And for this will become x equals positive 2. Alright, so let's go back to the question in the problem. So, what are the dimensions of the garden? So, again, we need to find the value of x para malaman natin kung ano ang x plus, 8 plus x at saka ang 4 plus x. Okay, actually, pwede natin itong isulat din as x plus 8 and then x plus 4. Okay, they are just the same. So, kailangan natin malaman ang value ng x para malaman natin ang x plus 8 or 8 plus x at 4 plus x. And then, hindi natin pwedeng kunin ang x equals negative 14. Because hindi tayo pwedeng magkaroon ng negative na dimensions. Remember, hindi tayo pwedeng magkaroon ng negative na measurement. Pag kinuha natin ng negative 14, of course, our dimension will become negative. So we're not gonna choose that. Instead, we will be choosing x equals 2. So therefore, the value of x is 2. Let us substitute that here in our equation. So, for the length, so again, that is represented by 8 plus x. So that will become, solving for the length, that will become 8 plus substitute 2 to x. So that will become 8 plus 2. So that is equal to 10. And the unit is meter. So therefore, the length is 10 meters. And for the width, so the width is represented by 4 plus x. 4 plus x. So that will become 4 plus x, which is equal to 2. And that is equal to 6. Unit is meter. So therefore, the dimensions of the expanded garden are 10 meters and 6 meters. Let's check. Tingnan natin kung tama nga yung sagot natin. So, if we're going to multiply 10 and 6, is it equal to 60 meters squared? So again, the area is length times width. So the area is 60. And the length is, nakuha natin 10. The width we got is 6. So we have 60 equals 10 times 6 equals 60. Therefore, our answers are correct. So what are the dimensions of the garden? So the dimensions of the garden are 10 meters and 6 meters. Alright? So I hope na naintindihan natin yung explanation ng problem na nasa page 3 ng week 3. Alright? So let's solve the other problems presented in there. Merong dalawang examples na ipinakita. Okay, so let's continue. Let's have the first one. So for the examples. So example number 1, let me use black color muna for the pen. So number 1, example na nasa page 4, we have x times the quantity of x plus 4 equals 32. So kung mapapansin, the degree is not 2, but we will apply distributive property para ma-transform itong equation na to quadratic equation. So we will distribute x, so x times x, that will become x squared. X times 4 is 4x. And then we will copy equals 32. So to make this in an equation in standard form, kailangan nating ilipat si 32 on the other side of the equal sign. So that will become copy x squared plus 4x. And then 32 will become negative now. Dahil lumipat siya sa kabilang side ng equal sign and nothing left here on this side but 0. So this is now a quadratic equation in the form ax squared plus bx plus c. So again, b is not equal to 0, so hindi natin pwedeng gamitin ang extracting the square root. So guys, you may use any of the remaining 3 methods. Bahala kayo kung anong gusto ninyong gamitin, whichever you are comfortable with. Okay? So, but here, let's show factoring since yun yung nasa ating module. So again, in factoring, we will prepare two parentheses equals 0. Factor x squared, those are x and x. And then, factor the constant, which is negative 32, kung saan yung factors niya dapat pag inad natin will be equal to 4. So if you think of the factors, we're gonna have 8 and negative 4. So positive 8 and negative 4. Because 8 times negative 4 is negative 32. And negative 8 plus 4 is equal to 4. Alright? Next, let us apply zero product property. Yung mga factors natin na binomial, will write them as an equation equal to 0. So this will become x plus 8 equals 0. And the second factor, x minus 4 equals 0. And then solve for x. Let's start with x plus 8 muna. So here, it will become x equals negative 8. And here, this will become x equals 4. So therefore, the solutions or the roots or the values of x are negative 8 and positive 4. So checking will be done by you, okay? Just do the checking para malaman natin kung tama yung ating sagot. Let's have number 2. We have x plus 2 squared plus x minus 3 squared equals 37. So, it doesn't mean na nakita natin na ang mga exponents ay 2 ay quadratic na siya. We have to expand this first or simplify natin. So, pwede tayong gumamit ng FOIL method or the special product. And I hope that you still remember how to do a special product. So let's start with the square of x plus 2. If we're going to apply special product, so we will square the first term, which is x, that will become x squared. And then we're going to have 2 times x, that is 2x. 2x times 2 is 4x. And the next step, square the second term, which is 2. So 2 squared is 4. Or if you're not comfortable with this, you may do the longer method. You multiply x plus 2 by itself twice. So that's the quantity of x plus 2 times the quantity of x plus 2. And then you do FOIL method or distributive property. So x times x is x squared. X times 2 is 2x. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 2 is 4. Combine like terms, we're going to have x squared. And then 2x plus 2x is 4x. And then copy 4. So just the same. So shortcut yung ginawa natin kanina na special product. Okay? So plus, we will copy this. And then the same, square of binomial pa rin to. Let's do special product. Square ng x, that is x squared. 2 times x is 2x. 2x times negative 3, negative 6x. And then square ng negative 3, that is positive 9. And then copy equals 37. And then the next step is we will combine similar terms. X squared and x squared are similar terms. So x squared plus x squared is 2x. And then 4x minus 6x, that is negative 2x. And then 4 plus 9 is positive 13. Copy equals 37. So, dapat pala in-adjust natin to konti dito. So, lipat natin si 37 on the other side. So, that will become 2x. This is 2x squared rather. I'm sorry, nakalimutan isulat ang exponent. 2x squared minus 2x plus 13. Lipat si 37. That will become negative 37. Then equals 0. So, that will become copy 2x squared minus 2x. 13 minus 37. That is negative 24. Copy equals 0. So, if you notice, A, B, and C are divisible by 2. Pwede natin itong isimplify para lumiit yung kanyang value. So, we will divide the whole equation by 2. So, divide the whole equation by 2. So, this will become 2 divided by 2x squared na lang. Negative 2x divided by 2 is negative x. Negative 24 divided by 2 is negative 12. And then equals, so 0 divided by any number is still 0. So this is now a quadratic equation. Okay? And we can solve this using any of the 3 methods: factoring, completing the square, quadratic formula. Okay? Let's solve this using factoring. So Let us prepare to parentheses equals 0. Factor of the first term, x and x. Factors ng negative 12 na pag inad ay negative 1. So those are 3 and negative 4. Because 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. 3 plus negative 4 is negative 1. Alright? And then next, apply 0 property. This will become x plus 3 equals 0. And x minus 4 equals 0. So for x, this will become x equals negative 3. And this is x equals 4. So these are the values of x. So I hope that you learned this lesson. So next lesson that I'm going to upload will be about rational algebraic equation, which is still transformable to quadratic equation. So see you in my next video. Bye.